Hi, my name is CLopez, and I would like to take a moment to discuss breaking the cycle of abuse. According to Breaking the Cycle of Abuse, Moving Beyond Your Past to Create an Abuse-Free Future by Beverly Engel, individuals with a history of childhood abuse are 4 times more likely than those without such a history to assault family members or sexual partners. Females who have a history of childhood abuse are far more likely to be victimized as adults. The tendency for abusive and neglectful parenting to be passed on through generations has been well documented. According to research on the intergenerational transmission of violence and adversity, individuals who have experienced abuse, neglect, or other forms of childhood adversity are more likely than non-exposed individuals to have children who have had similar adverse childhood experiences. My question to you is, how do we break this cycle of abuse? First and foremost, it is critical to recognize and comprehend that the risk of passing on abuse is high if you have been abused yourself. This fact has been well documented by statistical data and studies. In my opinion, understanding that you are at risk of passing on abuse to your child or remaining a victim yourself is important because it will feed your desire to break the cycle. This family pattern can be deviated from by primarily utilizing counseling services and promoting self-love. Do the things you enjoy doing. It is critical to recognize the link and emphasize the importance of breaking the cycle of abuse for future generations. Families can break the cycle by relying on a diverse network of resources, a strong sense of self-identity, realistic optimism, and the ability to mobilize additional resources in times of crisis. Understanding that you have a problem and a great risk of causing further damage is key. Recognizing the need for help is dire when wanting to break the cycle. Not being afraid to reach out for help is just as important. Each step, each day, each issue is a constant battle to reconstruct the thought process of what is acceptable and appreciate wanting something different for your children. Most counseling services offer family counseling, which will assist you in learning how to communicate with each family member. Also, during times of crisis, typically the person assisting with counseling either has a hotline or will direct you to one. Another thing to mention is having a support system outside of counseling that consists of family or friends to provide a break in the situation if needed. Remember, it takes a village to raise a child. I also think another factor to consider is that unfortunately, there is damage that comes with being abused as a child, which creates low self-esteem, self-doubt, and fear of rejection or failure. Confidence is a hard thing to come by when you have been abused in your childhood. Your childhood is a critical point in figuring out your identity and what makes you you. The only way to combat this damage is by accepting it as a concern, learning ways to cope, creating a strong sense of self-identity, and learning to be optimistic that you can make good choices and it can work. Good ways to help rebuild your self-esteem are and confidence are group therapy and individual therapy. Most insurance plans do cover these services, but if you do not have insurance or your insurance does not cover, you can always dial 211 or go to your local community center. They will assist you with free counseling services. We simply would not have the epidemic of childhood abuse and neglect we're experiencing today if abuse and neglect were not passed down from generation to generation. Data supports this thought process, and it forces us to consider and move on to the next step, which is resolution. I think a step most people fail to realize can help combat this behavior is counseling. Counseling is a service that promotes good mental, physical, and emotional health, but it is not utilized as much as it should be. Understanding you need to be healthy to raise healthy children is key, just as is understanding that everyone needs a break and ensuring you leave your children with people you can trust. It is important to recognize that abuse is prevalent. It's also important to break the cycle of abuse and neglect, if not for yourself, but for your children and future generations.